May I just say that while I'm here with my husband as a member of the royal family, I want you to know that for me, I am here with you as a mother, as a wife, as a woman of color, and as your sister.
In this video, we're taking a closer look at one specific moment from Meghan Markle's 2019 speech in South Africa. There's a line there. There's some statements made that on the surface sound warm and that they stand in solidarity, but underneath reveals something much more calculated. This wasn't just a feel-good moment, it was a message, a performance, and for some viewers, a subtle dig at the royal family. Let's break down how this one sentence became a layered piece of image control, identity politics, and power play. So let's get into it, but before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. The speech we're talking about Meghan gave in September 2019 in Nyanga Township in South Africa. She says, "While I'm here with my husband as a member of the royal family, I want you to know that for me, I am here with you as a mother, as a wife, as a woman of color, and as your sister." It sounds lovely, right? But let's take it apart. The first part of that sentence, "while I'm here with my husband as a member of the royal family," it sounds respectful at first. But listen again. She's framing her royal role as something external, like a job title or obligation. Then she continues and she says the phrase, "but for me." So she pivots to what really matters, how she sees herself. It's not just a shift in perspective, it's a distancing technique. It subtly tells the audience, yes, I'm part of that institution, but I'm not like them. I'm not here as one of them. I'm here as one of you. And that's where the shade comes in. She's implying that the rest of the royal family lacks the qualities she's about to claim: humanity, motherhood, womanhood, racial identity, and sisterhood. It's image making and it positions her above the institution she married into. Then comes the next part. "I am here with you as a mother, as a wife, as a woman of color, and as your sister." Now, this may seem heartfelt, but this is a rhetorical move known as emotional fusion. She's flattening the differences between her reality and theirs, as if her experience of being a woman of color with royal security and global wealth is on par with the lived experiences of women in an impoverished township fighting gender-based violence. And more importantly, she centers herself in their story. This isn't about them anymore. It's about her connection to them. It's classic narcissistic framing, inserting the self into the emotional center of the issue, even when the issue has nothing to do with you. When Meghan is standing on that stage, she's carefully constructing an image, not just of a duchess, but of something far more emotionally resonant. She's their sister. She's a mother just like they are, and she's a woman of color. She's not above anyone. She's with them. That's the message. But when we step back and we look at her pattern of public behavior, the story gets more complicated. In 2018, during her royal tour of Fiji, Meghan abruptly ended an engagement in Suva market. The official reason was crowd control, but multiple reports suggested the real discomfort began when she noticed UN women representatives at the site, women whose presence symbolized empowerment, visibility, and a shared space. And that's when the visit ended, not with applause, but with a quiet exit. It's not the moment itself that tells the whole story. It's the contrast between the woman who says, "I'm here with you as your sister," and the woman who retreats the moment she's not the sole focus. That's not connection, that's conditional presence, and that's where the image starts to fracture. I did a full video on this. It's actually the video I posted right before this one that goes into much more detail of her behavior during her visit to this market in Fiji. I think I pretty much captured the moment she recognizes the UN women emblem because she completely has a mask slip. So go and check that video out. Going back to this South Africa trip, so she's standing up there and she's trying to have this public image of unity. She's a working royal, connecting with the people, aligning herself with women of color, standing in so-called solidarity. But behind the scenes, a very different story was unfolding, because what the public didn't know yet was that the plan to step back from royal life, to leave the institution entirely, was already in motion. And when you rewatch this tour with that in mind, certain moments hit very differently. Just 2 months before this moment was when Harry and Meghan were caught speaking to Bob Iger and Jon Favreau for potential commercial roles in movies.
Next time, if anyone needs any extra voice,
Yeah.
we can make ourselves.
That's really why we're here. It's the pitch. That's really why we're here. It's the pitch.
The event we're talking about today took place in September 2019. During this same tour, Meghan gave a couple of interviews where she says some strange things. Let me show you the first clip.
Perhaps you could just give us an idea of what the last year has been like.
So here you see in this interview with ITV and Tom Bradby, instead of staying focused on the communities she was visiting, Meghan pivots the spotlight inward. Not many people have asked if I'm okay. And she says this during a royal tour in a country dealing with severe poverty and violence.
It's not enough to just survive something. You've got to thrive. You've got to feel happy. I really tried to adopt this British sensibility of a stiff upper lip.
It's framed as vulnerability, but it centers her struggle. It's a shift from service to self. And then we also have this moment from another interview she did with Tom Bradby.
Well, the Commonwealth is a very diverse place, right, with 53 countries, and so being a part of this family and the platform that comes with that is an incredible responsibility that I take really seriously.
She mentions how meaningful it is to be part of the Commonwealth, and she says that's the platform that comes with that I take very seriously. But right after she says it, her face shifts. She has a small involuntary smirk. To me, it's the kind psychologists often refer to as duper's delight. It's a microexpression that people show when they feel like they've fooled someone, when they're saying one thing but they're doing another. And if you know that, at this very moment, she was actively working on an exit plan from both the Commonwealth role and royal responsibilities. The smile says more than the words ever could. These aren't just emotional contradictions, they're leakages, they're glitches in the mask, and they suggest that this wasn't a tour rooted in public service. It was a strategic soft launch for a new narrative, one that positioned Meghan not as a royal figure, but as a woman too powerful, too real, and too unbothered to stay. To someone familiar with narcissistic patterns, this kind of speech is a red flag. It's full of projection, identity mirroring, and emotional positioning. It sounds like connection, but it's a carefully curated persona. And here's what really stands out to me. If you look at this moment through the lens of malignant narcissism, 3 traits jump out crystal clear. First, there's this false empathy. On the surface, it sounds like she's trying to connect with the women she's speaking to. But if you zoom out, it starts to feel less like solidarity and more like image control. It's not really about them. It's about how she wants to be seen. That's classic narcissistic mirroring, using someone else's struggle to boost your own persona. Second, there's this subtle devaluation, the way that she says, well, I'm here as a member of the royal family, and then immediately pivots to all the things she'd rather be seen as: wife, mother, woman, sister. That's not just a warm moment, it's a quiet dig. Like, basically she's saying, I'm technically part of them, but I'm better than that. I'm real and I get it. It's the kind of superiority that doesn't scream, it whispers, but it's still there. And finally, it's about controlling the narrative. When someone fuses their identity with a cause, like I am you, I am with you, I am this issue, it becomes really hard to question their behavior without feeling like you're attacking something bigger. That's emotional fusion. It's not about advocating for others. It's about making themselves inseparable from the story, which is exactly what she does here. So when people say this was just a touching speech, I think there's more going on. Because when admiration is guaranteed, the mask stays up. But when it's not, we start to see the real patterns. And that's the part that really sticks with me, because if you've ever dealt with someone like this in your life, you know exactly what it looks like. It's not always loud, it's not always obvious. Sometimes it's wrapped in empathy, identity, or support, but underneath, it's still manipulation. So let's take it out of the palace for a second and let me give you a few ways this pattern shows up in everyday relationships, whether it's a partner, a parent, a friend, or even a boss. Maybe you're in a relationship where your partner always says the right things, like, I respect strong women, or I love how independent you are. But the moment you set a boundary or just have an opinion that doesn't line up with theirs, you get punished. Maybe they go quiet, get sarcastic, or make you feel like you're too much. They talk about empowerment, but only as long as they're in control of the moment. It sounds like support, but it's really about how they want to be seen. Or maybe you had a parent who seemed like they cared when you opened up. You'd say something like, I've just been feeling overwhelmed lately. And their response would be, I know exactly how that feels. When I was your age, dot, dot, dot. And suddenly you're listening to their whole life story. Now you feel like the selfish one for even bringing it up. They didn't comfort you, they absorbed the spotlight. You were trying to be vulnerable, and they used your moment to center themselves. Let's get into a third example. You tell a friend, I'm finally feeling confident in my body, or I'm proud of how far I've come. And instead of celebrating with you, they say, well, that must be nice. I wish I felt like that. And the vibe just drops. Suddenly, your good moment is making them uncomfortable. And without saying it outright, they've made it clear. Your happiness isn't safe here. It needs to shrink because it's not flattering to them. That's the same quiet devaluation we're talking about. And finally, perhaps you have a boss who has always been talking about how we're family and we want to uplift every voice. But then in meetings, they rephrase your ideas as their own. Or if you started getting recognition, they suddenly stop inviting you to key conversations. They wanted to look supportive as long as it didn't threaten their image. That's emotional fusion and image management working hand in hand. Meghan's 2019 speech in South Africa is often held up as a powerful moment of empathy, but when you view it through the lens of emotional manipulation and then you compare it to how these dynamics play out in real life, the tone shifts. It starts to feel less like a genuine offering of solidarity and more like a well rehearsed identity performance, one that centers image, elevates status, and absorbs the emotional space that was never hers to dominate. Because when someone truly shows up for others, they don't need to over identify or self brand as your sister, as your mirror, or anything else. They don't need to be the moment. They just need to be present. Let me know in the comments, do you feel this way about the speech that she made? And do any of these real world examples sound familiar to you? If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether it's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to reach out to them, and you'll find a link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps and it means a lot. If this video was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.